All right, so let's remember our rules for solving a system of equations using elimination. The first step is to check to make sure that the coefficient set of one variable are additive inverses, are equal but with opposite signs. So let's check these. So what is the coefficient set for x? The coefficient set, remember, is both of the coefficients of x, both of the numbers being multiplied by x. So what's my coefficient set for x? 2 and 6. And what's my coefficient set for y? 5 and what? Negative 2. Negative 2. Don't forget the negative. I don't know why this does this. There should be an equal sign there. Okay. So are either of these pairs additive inverses? No. No. So what do we need to do? Refer back to the steps we wrote down yesterday. What do we need to do? So it says, if necessary, blank the equations until a variable's coefficient set is equal with opposite signs. Yeah, multiply. So our first step here is we need to multiply one or both equations so that one of the coefficient sets are additive inverses. Okay, so let's think about that. Let's look at y. What would be the additive inverse of 5? Negative 5. Can we multiply anything by 2 or by negative 2 to get to negative 5? Not a whole number, right? Because 2 times 1 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 3 is 6, skipped over 5. Okay, so what's the additive inverse of negative 2? 2. Is there anything we can multiply by 5 to get to 2 easily? No, because 5 times 1 is 5. It's already bigger than 2. Let's think about this. What's the additive inverse of positive 2? Negative 2. Can I multiply anything by 6 to get to negative 2? Now, what's the additive inverse of 6? Negative 6. Can I multiply 2 by something to get to negative 6? What is it, Ralph? Negative 3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply this equation, my first equation, by negative 3. Watch this. Let's rewrite the equation so we have a little more room. So 2x plus 5y equals 31. And 6x minus 2y equals 26. Now I said I'm going to multiply my first equation by negative 3. Negative 3. This is how I do it. I draw arrows, so I'm going to show my new equations. So negative 3 times 2x, what does that give me? Negative 6 what? Negative 6x. Now, what's negative 3 times negative 5y? I'm distributing here. Negative 3 times 5y. Negative 15y. equals, what's negative 3 times 31? Someone with the calculator out, tell me. Negative 3 times 31. Huh? Nice. Negative 93. Okay. And now we just leave this second equation as it is. So we get 6x minus 2y equals 26. So we just took care of the first step. We multiplied one of the equations so that one of our variables, coefficient set, are additive inverses. One of my variables now, my x, has a coefficient set that are additive inverses. Negative 6, positive 6, equal with opposite signs. So now we go on to step 2, where we add the two equations vertically. So I've got it already set up like that. I draw my line, and I add one term or two terms at a time. So the first one, negative 6x plus 6x, what will that give me? 0. 0. What about negative 15y plus negative 2y? Negative 17y. Did you say 13? Uh-huh. So think about it. It's two negative numbers. Yeah. So that's still negative. So negative 17y equals now negative 93 plus 26. Negative 93 plus 26. You can use your calculator or you can do it in your head. Negative 93 plus 20 would be negative 73. Negative 73 plus 6, not negative 6, negative 67. This looks like it's an ugly one too. Why did I choose these ones? So now what do I need to do to solve for y? What's that? Yeah, Alex, divide. What are we dividing by? Negative 17, which means I also divide this side by negative 17. What's negative 17 divided by negative 17? Positive 1. Negative 17 over negative 17. So if we have the same number over the same number, it's always 1. Always 1. So this leaves me with just y over here. And then negative 17 or negative 67 divided by negative 17. I don't think that's a whole number. So let's test. I don't know if it even, because negative 17 is a prime number. Do you guys know what that means?
But only one in itself is something like.
Yeah, 1 in itself are the only factors. So 17 can't be divided by 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or anything. Negative 17 or negative 67 divided by negative 17. Yeah, that doesn't simplify. It's just 67 over 17. Positive, because it's negative over a negative. Okay. I don't know why this is such a, it's not a very nice problem to do. Negative 26. Okay, so this should have been negative 26. It's negative 26 on your papers, isn't it? Yeah? Why didn't anyone tell me we were doing it wrong? Okay. It says negative 26. 6x minus 2y equals negative 26. It's not that much work to undo. Let's try. So, okay, so this piece is not there. That shouldn't be there. And let's back up to here. Mistakes allow thinking to happen. This is good. So this should be negative 26. So again, negative 6x plus 6x is 0. Negative 15y minus 2y is negative 17y equals negative 93 minus 26. What's that going to give me? Negative 93 minus 26. Negative 119. So when they're both negative, you can just add the numbers together. So 3 plus 6 is 9. 9 plus 2 is 11. Negative 119. All right, now let's try this. I don't know if negative 119 is a multiple of negative 17, but let's find out. So again, negative 17 over negative 17 is 1. We've got y equals, let's try this, negative 119 divided by negative 17. 7. Much better. Much better. Y equals 7. Y equals 7. Okay, now what's our next step? We just went through step 2. Not checking it yet. What's our next step? Yeah, we got to plug 7 in to either one of our original equations. Let's use the first one. 2x plus 5y equals 31. Plug 7 in for y. We get 2x plus 5 times 7 equals 31. 2x plus, what's 5 times 7?
25. Wait, 35.
There you go. Equals 31. Now what do I need to do to get x by itself? Subtract what? Not divide, not yet. Subtract 35 from both sides. So then 2x, 35 minus 35 is 0. 31 minus 35, what? 31 minus 35?
Negative 4.
Negative 4. Okay, now Alex, what do we do? Divide by 2. Both sides. So x equals negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. Okay, and then we check ourselves. But I'm gonna have you guys move. Let's do it. Let's do it anyway. I feel like we don't have time, but we should do it anyway because this is part of the process that I want you to get into the habit of doing. You always want to check yourself. So we said x is negative 2, y is 7. So 2 times negative 2 plus 5 times 7. Does that equal 31? 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. Plus 5 times 7 is what, Ralph? 5 times 7?
35.
Good job. 35 equals 31. Negative 4 plus 35, does that equal 31? Yeah, it does. Okay. And then the other equation, 6x minus 2y equals negative 26. Plug in negative 2 for x and 7 for y. Does that work? 6 times -2 is -12 minus 2 times 7. What's 2 times 7? 14. 14 equals -26. Is that true? -12 minus 14? Does that equal -26? Yeah, it does. So that's our solution, -2, 7. Right. So you've got one more to do on the back, and you're going to need to multiply one of the equations. You're actually going to need to multiply both of the equations. You're going to need to multiply both of the equations. Do you want to figure that part out together, and then you guys can figure out the rest? Let's do that. So we've got this one. 3x minus 8y equals -15. I don't know why it does that on here, but whatever. And 10x minus 5y equals 80. Let's talk about what's my coefficient set for x. 3 and 10. What's my coefficient set for y? You were right the first time. -8 and -8 and -5. Okay, so what we're finding here, it's called the least common multiple. I'm sure you learned about this, but probably a long time ago. Least common multiple. So we're trying to find the least common multiple between either 3 and 10 or -5 and -8. Which one do we want to look at? 3 and 10? Okay, so when we're trying to figure out the least common multiple, let's think about the multiples of 10 and the multiples of 3. Okay, so what's the multiples of 3?
3, 1.
No, multiples. So 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 2 is 3 times 3 is 3 times 4 is 3 times 5 is. This is fun. What's now the multiples of 10? What's 10 times 1? What's 10 times 2? 10 times 3? Okay. Are any of these numbers, any of the multiples of 3 we named, are any of those multiples of 10?
Well, not, well, 10 times 3.
That's what I wanted to get to. Was now then we look at the multiples of 10. We know 30 is divisible by 10, right? Okay. So let's use 30. That's what we're trying to get to. Don't multiply both equations by 30. You want to multiply both equations so that the number before x, the coefficient of x, is 30. Okay? So what do we need to multiply 3 by to get to 30? 10. And what do we need to multiply 10 by to get to 30? We get out at 10:30. We still got time. 3. Okay, so let's rewrite the equation. So we got 3x minus 8y equals -15. And 10x minus 5y equals 80. We're going to multiply the first equation by 10, and we're going to multiply the second equation by 3. Remember, we distribute. 10 times 3x is 30x. I'm going to run out of room. 10 times -8y is -80y. 10 times -15 is what? 10 times negative 15? Negative 150. So anytime we multiply 10 by a number, okay, it's just the same number. We add a zero. We just add a 0. You guys know that trick, right? Okay, now I want you guys to take over. Multiply 3 by each number in the equation. Don't forget your negatives. Rewrite your second equation there. And then you're going to want to subtract the second one from the first one. Yep.
Right? 8 times 3 is 240.
Because 3 times 8 is 24. And just add a 0. Sorry. Yep. Yep. But you got to finish making it up. Oh. So there's 30x. Yep. 3 times 10x is 30x. 3 times negative 5y is what? 3 times negative 5y. Yeah, minus 15y. Now hit subtract. So this one and this one. Make it 30x minus 30y. Yeah. Negative 80y minus negative 15y. So there's a double negative there. But yeah, 3 times 8. You know 3 times 8? Yes.
Oh.
3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 21. Yes. And then you add a 0. Like 80. Now, yep. Now you're going to subtract this one from that one. Okay, so what did we get for our second equation? Someone tell me. 30x. Yeah. And then we subtract the second equation from the first equation. So go one at a time. 30x minus 30x gives me what? 0. Now this is tricky. Negative 80y minus negative 15y. Negative 65y. Because we have to do negative and then negative. So let me add them. So that's negative 80 plus 15 is negative 65y. Negative 150 minus 240, what's that? Pardon? Negative 150 minus 240. What? Yeah. Negative 390. Okay, then we solve for y. How do we solve for y? Divide. Yes. Negative 65. Negative 65. Negative 65 over negative 65 is 1. Y equals negative 390 over negative 65. Thank you. Now what do we do?
Check.
No, not yet. We're only halfway there. Plug it in. Plug it into one of your original equations. So let's finish that up. So you can either do 3x minus 8 times 6 equals negative 15, or 10x minus 5 times 6 equals 80. You can do either one. Then you'll solve for x, you'll get an answer for x, and then you check it, and then you're done.